Hey family, what do Pokemon, Pope Francis, and PCs all have in common? The simple answer is Carlo Acutis. He is going to be the first millennial to be canonized as a saint inside of the Catholic Church. And I'm so excited to have him as a part of our conversation today as we look at his journey from literally a boy who loved gaming, a boy who loved coding, a boy who loved just life and giving and his faith, and how he literally went from this boy to overcoming and giving up himself after discovering that he had leukemia at the age of 15 to now becoming, like I said, the youngest millennial saint to be canonized inside of the Catholic Church. But before we go there, let's watch this together and stick with me because I believe that his story is going to teach every single one of us that you don't need to be perfect to be a saint. You just have to have purpose. Let's watch together.
Well, he's become known as God's influencer. Carlo Acutis, a teenage gamer and computer programmer, is set to be declared the Catholic Church's first millennial saint. Almost 18 years after he died from leukemia aged 15, Pope Francis has recognised a second miracle attributed to Acutis, paving the way for him to be canonized. The London-born Italian teenager was a computer prodigy. He used his technological skills to spread awareness of the Catholic faith, including a website which documented reports of miracles. Since his death, Acutis' following among Catholics has grown. He's widely seen as a saintly figure who is truly relatable to today's youth. His mother, Antonia Salzano, continues to share the message of her son's life.
And it's a great sign of hope because he told us, as I did, you too can become holy. Nevertheless, all the media, the technologies, it seems sometimes that holiness is something that belongs to the past. Instead, holiness is also nowadays, in this modern time.
Acutis grew up in Milan and, like other kids of his age, he enjoyed video games, sports and making funny films about his family dogs. To declare someone a saint, the Catholic Church normally requires proof of two miracles. The latest miracle attributed to Acutis was the healing of a woman from Costa Rica who suffered a head trauma after falling from her bicycle in Florence in Italy. According to Vatican News, she was cured after her mother prayed at the tomb of Acutis. Acutis was beatified and declared blessed after his first miracle in 2020, with the Vatican approving as miraculous the healing of a Brazilian boy who had a birth defect in his pancreas that made him unable to eat normally. The next step now is for the Pope to hold a meeting of cardinals to sign off on Acutis' sainthood. Then they will pick a date for the canonization. Christopher Lamb, CNN, London.
What does sainthood look like in the digital age? Can a teenager who loved coding, Pokemon, and the Eucharist actually become a saint? And more importantly, today in conversation, I really want us to look at what this could mean for the rest of us. Today, we're diving into the life of Carlo Acutis, the first millennial to be canonized by the Catholic Church. This conversation today is more than just a history lesson. It's a reminder that you don't have to be perfect to inspire people. And Carlo's story really helps us to grab on to our own purposefulness inside of this life. I want you to stick with me over these next couple of minutes. Later on, we're going to discover this surprising connection between Carlo's favorite tech hobby and a powerful spiritual truth that might just reshape how you even live online. Welcome back to From the Desk of Dr. Dandridge. I'm Dr. Dandridge, where we connect faith, history, and hope for your everyday journey. Let's begin with the process. How does one actually become a saint in the Catholic Church? Well, there are four main stages. The first stage is that the person has to be a servant of God. What happens is that the local bishop begins an investigation into the person's life. Then there is the stage of being venerable, or the Vatican recognizes that the individual lived a life of what they consider to be heroic virtue. Then the stage goes inside of this portion of being blessed. One miracle is attributed to the person's intercession after death. And then finally, the stage of actual sainthood. This is when a second miracle is confirmed, and then the Pope of the Catholic Church declares the sainthood. Now, this process isn't just about miracles, it's about the impact of a life well lived, a life that is selfless, a life that is faithful, but then also a life that is intentional. This reminds me of the biblical reference inside of Hebrews, the 12th chapter, in the first verse, where it says that we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, urging us to lay aside everything that holds us back and to run our race here on earth with endurance. So let's meet Carlo Acutis, who I would consider to be the digital apostle. Carlo Acutis was born in London in 1991, just a few years after I was born. I was born in 1985, but he was born in London but raised in Milan, Italy. From an early age, he showed a deep love for the Eucharist and had a strong sense of compassion for the poor and the marginalized. But get this, Carlo was also a tech genius. He taught himself to code, he built websites, and even created a digital catalog of Eucharistic miracles from around the world. This teenager used the internet as a mission field. While others were scrolling endlessly, no, he was uploading faith. His famous quote that he was always known for was that the Eucharist is my highway to heaven. He attended daily mass, he prayed the rosary, and practiced charity in quiet, humble ways. Never to be seen, but always to serve. At just 15 years old, Carlo was diagnosed with leukemia. He offered up his suffering for the church and the Pope, and he passed away in 2006. And in his death, his legacy began to multiply. The first miracle that is attributed to him actually happened inside of Brazil, where a young boy with a rare pancreatic disease was healed after praying to Carlo. The second miracle happened not long after in Italy, where another person was healed from this very rare brain condition. These miracles led to the beatification of Carlo in 2020, and recently Pope Francis has approved his canonization, making Carlo the first millennial saint in church history. This reminds me of actually one of my favorite Bible verses that I grew up on because I was a 14-year-old preacher and people always would try to say things like, no, you're too young. No, you're too young. No. 1 Timothy 4:12 says, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech and conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Here's the thing. Carlo didn't wait until he was older to do God's work. He used what he had right where he was to serve others. And in my opinion, that matters to every single one of us. I want to talk about you for a minute because Carlo's life begs the question, what are we going to do with the gifts that God has given us? I want you to know I want you to know today that you don't have to be famous, you don't have to be wealthy or even ordained to inspire others. You just need to live a life that points people to hope, just like Carlo did. Whether it's through teaching, whether it's through parenting, whether it's through serving, or simply showing up consistently, I want you to know today that your life has power. We'll come back to the idea of legacy in a minute, but I want us to really let that sit for a moment. I want to ask you, who might look at your life and see Jesus more clearly because of how you lived? So today, as we bring awareness to the life of Carlo Acutis, I wanted us all to be reminded that sainthood isn't about perfection. It's about pursuit. It's a pursuit of faith. It's a pursuit of purpose. And it is also a pursuit to serve people. And I believe that his life, his story, and his sainthood encourages us to live in a way that our story becomes someone else's survival guide. That we live our life like a spiritual hyperlink, pointing people to heaven. Inside of an upcoming conversation, I really want to explore how ordinary people can truly become hidden heroes inside of the faith. And I think that we all have them. Individuals who might not even have even realized that how they lived greatly impacted our spiritual journey. As a matter of fact, if somebody really lived a way in front of you that made you a better person, I want you to drop their name inside of the comments so that you can leave a lasting legacy on this page for them. Listen, if today's conversation encouraged you, I just want you to do me a favor. Number one, subscribe. Share this with someone who needs a dose of inspiration. And let me know if Carlo's story is one that makes you really look at your life differently, makes you look at your life with a little bit of purpose. And if you're using your gifts online, ask yourself, how are people seeing me as a believer in Christ inside of this social media world? Ask yourself the question, are my messages, is what I'm posting, is it matching my mission to live a life that is exemplar to God? Until next time, again, thank you for joining me at my desk. I'm Dr. Dandridge, and I just want to remind you today to live faithful, to live focused, and ultimately do like Carlo Acutis and live forward. I'll talk to you next time.